So we were up at 5:40 this morning, 20 to 6. Went up to the bathrooms, cleaned our teeth, which is over there. I can't remember the name of this campsite, but it's just before Whitstable, just beyond Margate. So between the two, and we're hoping to get away now by 7. It's about 22 now. And we're nearly there. As you can see, the bike's nearly packed up, and we're hoping to get around the Thames today, round to the pop into the Isle of Sheppey, around the Dartford Tunnel, and then on to Mersey Island and up a bit further, probably, since we've got up so early. It depends how much we tire on the bike and how many stops we need. We've had a pleasant night here. The road has been very, very busy though. This is I think it's next to the A27 or something like that. And we have an awful lot of sparrows in here, noise which we don't mind. But they've been very, very busy till late in the evening and early this morning.
This is our 6th day on this leg of our coast adventure. We camped here between Herne Bay and Whitstable at Hampton Bay Park. Another quirky campsite with a unique character. Back in episode 18, when we had got to Hastings, we asked for you to guess our mileage from our start point in Weston-super-Mare. Well, the exact answer is 1083. The first, and at the time of uploading this video, only guess was almost spot on. Congratulations to Dervman, who predicted 1100 miles. If we're going to get to the end of this challenge, we're going to have to get a move on though. Yesterday we did 125 miles. Today we're going for more than double that. It might not sound much, but remember, we're picking our way around slow coast roads. Having completed the south coast and got around to the bottom right hand corner of Britain that is Kent, we now need to get across 2 rivers, the Medway and Thames. Before then, there's a bit to explore. First stop, the Isle of Sheppey.
Yeah.
The Isle of Sheppey is separated from the mainland by the Swale and connected by 2 bridges. The one we're crossing now is the King's Ferry Bridge. It's also a railway and pedestrian bridge. Unlike the more modern bridge, it lifts to allow shipping to pass through. The first King's Ferry Bridge replaced the ferry in 1860. This is the 4th incarnation, built in 1960. The higher, newer bridge is simply called the Sheppey Crossing and was built in 2006. On the 5th of September 2013, fog caused one of the UK's largest road accidents. 130 vehicles were involved in the pile-up. Thankfully, no one was killed.
We're just coming into Sheerness on the Isle of Sheppey.
Sheerness seafront. Well, beginning of the Thames estuary.
There are 767 recorded wrecks in the Thames estuary. The wreck of SS Richard Montgomery is probably the most well known. She was built in 1943 in the United States to carry vital supplies for the war effort. In August 1944, she carried 7,000 tons of munitions bound for the UK and then on to Cherbourg. In the estuary, she was instructed to anchor in the Great Nore anchorage off Sheerness. A convoy was to join her as she crossed the channel. But while waiting, she dragged anchor in the shallow water and grounded on a sandbank. Great effort was made to unload the cargo, but unfortunately the following day her hull had cracked and the fore end began to flood. The salvage efforts continued up until the 25th of September, but had to stop when the SS Richard Montgomery flooded completely. Approximately half of her cargo had been saved. The wreck remains on the sandbank where she sank. Her masts are clearly visible at all tides, and there's still around 1,400 tons of explosives on board.
We're still on the island of Sheppey, making our way back off.
We intended to use the Sheppey crossing on the return trip, but took a wrong turn somewhere and ended up going back over the older bridge.
Just travelling up the side of the Thames estuary and the little inland waterways off it from the Isle of Sheppey.
This area of low-lying land bordering the estuary is known as the Greater Thames Estuary. There are mudflats, low-lying beaches and salt marshes. The estuary itself is one of the largest inlets on our coast and is a major shipping route for oil tankers, container ships, bulk carriers and ferries. The vessels move alongside the harbour seals, the grey seals, harbour porpoises and occasionally dolphin and whales which are seen in the estuary.
Can we squeeze through? Can we squeeze through? Yeah, man, yeah. There you go.
Loving the crochet flowers on the church fence. So we've been passing lots of fields with fruit growing in them. This presumably is pear or apple trees, but we've also been passing fields with fruit bushes like blueberries, raspberries, red currants, black currants, that type of thing. And I've also seen fields full of greenhouses. Believe it or not, we're not a million miles away from London or the Thames, and yet it feels like we're in the middle of nowhere. So we're approaching the Medway Tunnel, which obviously goes under the River Medway on the A289, and this area is, well, we're surrounded by the historic dockyard of Chatham. Can't see much of it, it's very built up. Westbound entrance, and unfortunately there is a lane closed and the speed limit is 30. So it might actually take some doing to get through here. Cheeky boy. He's a bit narrower than us. It is tempting to go in that other lane. It's 10 to 9 in the morning on a Tuesday morning, so there's a fair bit of traffic, made worse by the fact it's only one lane. We're on the approach to the Dartford Tunnel under the River Thames. Southbound traffic uses the bridge to our right, and we're northbound, so we're going in the tunnel. The tunnel used to take two-way traffic. It's much older than the bridge, which we can see up there. So we're in Essex now, coming down to Tilbury Fort on the side of the River Thames. Busy quayside area. Not sure we'll be able to get down to see any water, but we're certainly going to give it a go. Lots of containers there. Cruise and ferry car parking. Tilbury Fort. Cruise terminal, so cruise ships obviously come in here. So this looks like your old part.
The original London docks were 35 miles upstream from here, close to the city. With the coming of the railways and increasing ship size, proximity to the centre of London became less important than the access to deep water and reduction in time spent travelling up the winding Thames. In July 1882, an Act of Parliament allowed for the construction of the docks at Tilbury. The first vessel entered the docks on the 17th of April 1886. In 1909, Tilbury became part of the newly established Port of London Authority, who gradually enlarged and improved operations. In 1916, the port opened berths for the cruise company P&O to operate ocean liners. In 1992, the port was privatised and today is known as the Port of Tilbury.
And there's loads of containers there, stacked like Lego. Interesting. Do you believe cars can go across? Nope.
No pedestrian.
No.
Pedestrian route. No.
So we can go across. What are we actually crossing? Oh, we're not crossing anything, we're just going out onto it. Yeah. So one for cars and one for people, and this is the Thames.
This bridge was originally for the trains that brought passengers destined for far-flung places. For many people, Tilbury was their point of emigration to Australia under the Assisted Passage Scheme established and operated by the Australian government. The £10 Poms, as they were known in Australia, embarked onto ships such as RMS Moulton and set off for a new life. Tilbury was also a port of entry for many immigrants, many of them from the West Indies on HMT Empire during the Windrush in 1948. In the 1960s and 70s, air travel took over and the terminal closed. In 1995, the cruise terminal was reopened to serve the cruise holiday industry.
Oh, the cruise, yes. Wow. Oh, how amazing is that? There's some tugboats there. Oh, wouldn't it have been great if a cruise ship was coming in? Coalhouse Fort, Tilbury Fort.
Tilbury Fort dates back to King Henry VIII, when the first fort was built to protect London against attack from France. It was reinforced during the 1588 Spanish Armada invasion scare, after which it was reinforced again by parliamentary forces and used to help secure the capital during the English Civil War of the 1640s. Following naval raids during the Anglo-Dutch Wars, in the 1670s the fort was enlarged to form a star-shaped defensive work with angular bastions, water-filled moats and 2 lines of guns facing onto the river. It continued to be essential for the defence of the capital during the Napoleonic Wars. As Tilbury itself became less strategically significant, and with the development of military technology, the fort became obsolete. The fort had only a limited role in the Second World War, and much of it was demolished during the 1950s. Thankfully, most of the older parts survive. The 17th century defences are considered to be the best surviving example of their kind in Britain.
Just going to go on a little explore before we leave this area. Looks like we've come to the World's End.
The World's End pub was built around the same time as Tilbury Fort. It must have felt like the World's End to 17th century Londoners. It also marks the end of this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe and leave a comment if you did.